Welcome to Latin Mass Response Tutorial, Part 4. My name is Father Robert Fromageot. I will be your guide. In Parts 1 through 3, we have studied everything up through the indulgentiam. It remains for us now to cover the last lines of the prayers at the foot of the altar. And so without further ado, let us tackle the first one. How do you say, O God, Deus? How do you say, you, tu? How do you say, you will enliven or vivify us? Vivificabis nos. Again, how do you say, O God, Deus? How do you say, you, tu? How do you say, you will vivify, vivificabis? And how do you say, us? Nos. Now, what part of the verb vivificabis means you will? Bis, the last syllable, bis. Very good. How then do you say, O God, you will vivify us? You can say either Deus tu vivificabis nos, in which case you are emphasizing that it is God who will vivify, or you could have simply said Deus vivificabis nos, God, O God, you will vivify us. Now there is one more word in this line, and that word means having turned. It is describing God, something that he has done. Having turned. This is known as a passive participle. So what is the passive participle having turned in Latin? Conversus. How do you say then, O God, you having turned, will vivify us? Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, you will vivify us? Vivificabis nos. How do you say, having turned? Conversus. How do you say, you? Tu. How do you say, O God? Deus. How do you say, O God, you having turned? Deus tu conversus. How do you say, O God, you having turned, you will vivify us? Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, people? Plebs. How do you say, and people? Et plebs. How do you say, and your people? Et plebs tua. How do you say, in you? In te. How do you say, people? Plebs. How do you say, your people? plebs tua? How do you say, and your people? Et plebs tua. How do you say, he, she, or it shall rejoice? Læta bitur. How do you say, the people shall rejoice? Plebs læta bitur. How do you say, and the people shall rejoice? Et plebs læta bitur. How do you say, and your people shall rejoice? Et plebs tua læta bitur. How do you say, your people shall rejoice in you? Plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, and your people shall rejoice in you? Et plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, O God, you will vivify us? Deus, tu vivificabis nos, or simply Deus vivificabis nos. How do you say, O God, you having turned shall vivify us? Deus, tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, your people shall rejoice in you? Plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, O God, you having turned, will vivify us? Deus, tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, and your people shall rejoice in you? Et plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, O Lord, Domine? How do you say, show, O Lord? Ostende, Domine. How do you say, show to us, O Lord? Ostende nobis, Domine. How do you say, show to us, O Lord, your mercy? Ostende nobis, Domine, misericordiam tuam. What is the word for your? Tuam. What is the word for mercy? Misericordiam. How do you say, your people? Plebs tua. How do you say, you will vivify us? Vivificabis nos. How do you say, show us, O Lord? Ostende nobis, Domine. How do you say, and your people shall rejoice in you? Et plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, show to us, O Lord, your mercy? Ostende nobis, Domine, misericordiam tuam. How do you say, grant to us? Da nobis. How do you say, your salvation? Salutare tuum. How do you say, grant to us your salvation? Da nobis salutare tuum. How do you say, and your salvation grant or give to us? Et salutare tuum da nobis. How do you say, O God, you having turned, will quicken us? Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, show to us, O Lord, your mercy? Oste nobis Domine misericordiam tuam. How do you say, and your salvation give or grant to us? Et salutare tuum da nobis. How do you say, O Lord? Domine. How do you say, O Lord, hear? Domine exaudi. How do you say, O Lord, hear the prayer? Domine exaudi orationem. How do you say, O Lord, hear my prayer? Domine exaudi orationem meam. How do you say, O God, you having turned, you will quicken us? Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, and your salvation grant to us? Et salutare tuum da nobis. How do you say, show to us, O Lord, your mercy? Oste nobis Domine misericordiam tuam. How do you say, O Lord, hear my prayer? Domine exaudi orationem meam. How do you say, and my cry? Et clamor meus. How do you say, and the cry? Et clamor. How do you say, he, she, or it comes? Venit. How do you say, may he come, or may he, she, or it come? Veniat. Again, how do you say, he comes? Venit. How do you say, may he, she, or it come? Veniat. How do you say, let him come? Veniat. How do you say, let the cry come? Clamor veniat. How do you say, let my cry come? Clamor meus veniat. How do you say, let my cry come to you? Clamor meus ad te veniat. How do you say, and let my cry come to you? Et clamor meus ad te veniat. How do you say, the Lord? Dominus. How do you say, with? Cum. How do you say, with you, singular? Tecum. How do you say, with you, plural? Vobiscum. How do you say, the Lord be with you, plural? Dominus vobiscum. How do you say, the Lord be with you, singular, talking just to one person? Dominus tecum. How do you say, and with? Et cum. How do you say, and with the Spirit? Et cum spiritu. How do you say, and with your spirit, your being singular, addressing one person? Et cum spiritu tuo. How do you say, and let my cry come to you? Et clamor meus ad te veniat. How do you say, and grant to us your salvation? Et salutare tuum da nobis. How do you say, O God, you having turned, will quicken us? Deus tu conversus vivificabis nos. How do you say, and your people shall rejoice in you? Et plebs tua læta bitur in te. How do you say, show to us, O Lord, your mercy? Oste nobis Domine misericordiam tuam. How do you say, and grant to us your salvation? Et salutare tuum da nobis. How do you say, O Lord? Domine. How do you say, O Lord, hear my prayer? Domine exaudi orationem meam. How do you say, and let my cry come to you? Et clamor meus ad te veniat. How do you say, the Lord be with you? Dominus vobiscum. How do you say, and with your spirit? Et cum spiritu tuo. And with that, the prayers at the foot of the altar are concluded. The priest will ascend up to the altar and begin Mass. The responses that follow are fairly short, with perhaps the exception of the suscipiat. We will go to these other responses in the next part. Until then, God bless you.